Hey toy fans, I'm D21Beast and welcome back to my figure review series here on my YouTube channel. And today we're once again looking at those adorable Minimates 2-packs. We've got Professor X and Future Magneto from X-Men Days of Future Past, part of the Minimates line that was released to coincide with the film of the same name, and these were released by Art Asylum and Diamond Select in 2014. Now if you missed my first X-Men Days of Future Past Minimates review, definitely check the link to my previous review here where we take a look at young Magneto and Mystique. But what we have for you here today is a bit of a jump forward in time as we take a look at the older version of the mutants, the returning cast members from the original mutant trilogy. Let's go ahead and get things started by taking a look at that packaging. As you come down the front of the box, you can see the logo for Marvel and X-Men Days of Future Past. You do have a window box packaging that does house this Professor X and Magneto figure inside, as well as their accessories. Then towards the bottom of the packaging, we have the Minimates logo and some images of Professor X and Magneto. Flipping this package around, as you come down the back of the box, you have the Diamond Select and Art Asylum logo at the top. You then have the logo for Marvel and Minimates one more time. You then have a complete lineup of all the figures that were available in this collection. Then in the lower left, you have a bio for Professor X. Go ahead and pause now to read that. And in the lower right, you have a bio for Future Magneto. Go ahead and pause now to read that. Alright guys, well that's the packaging. Let's say we get these mini mutants out of the box and see what they're all about. Alright X-fans, here we have Professor X and Magneto out of the box, and immediately you're going to notice that Professor X is in a levitating chair, which is really cool. This chair accessory does have sort of a flight stand coming out of the seat of it that goes into the ground or just touches on the ground. It doesn't actually have any sort of wider base. I wish it was a little bit bigger. He does tend to fall over pretty easily if you're just moving him around pretty quickly. I actually kind of wish that the flight stand itself had a hole in the bottom of it, so you can grab one of these figure stands that these Minimates come with and just plug it in and have actually a wider display area for this figure to stand on. That said though, the chair is a nice accessory and I'm glad that we've got it. Now Xavier himself isn't actually pegged into this chair. He can just set in there pretty nicely, so if you want to, you can go ahead and get rid of the chair and set it off here to the side and then just straight out Professor X's legs, and you'll see that he does stand just fine like any other Minimate normally would. So if you want to have Patrick Stewart on break, you can do that. But then Magneto over here, he's actually got a lot of sort of plastic fabric that's been added to the figure. You'll see that there's actually sort of a cloth skirt piece coming around the figure here, and then the cape is actually really big. Comes over the shoulder on the side here and then completely covers him on the back. And because of all that plastic, the figure is actually incapable of standing on his own without a stand. Watch here as I get this figure stand out of the way. No matter how many times I try to stand up this Magneto figure, he's just so back heavy that he won't stand up. So I'm a little disappointed by that. I mean, it's a great sort of sculpting detail and it is movie accurate and I really like the way that it looks. I just wish that maybe it wasn't as heavy as it is here. But overall, I'm very happy with the sort of look and paintwork on these figures. I'd like to take a moment to kind of look at that Professor X Minimate up close. I really like the way that Art Asylum and Diamond Select have done the face on this Minimate figure. I think it looks a lot like Patrick Stewart. I even like the sort of attention to detail they've given the eyebrows. They've made them a little bushier, but they've even painted the white in on the eyebrows there. I think that's a nice touch. But overall, the line work on the face I think really does look like Professor X, and Patrick Stewart for that matter. And of course that great line work does continue down the figure here on the chest and on the knee pads. No sort of paint or line work on the back. But let's go ahead and take a moment to compare this Professor X now to the previous offerings you've gotten for Patrick Stewart. Here on the left, you're going to see the Season 5 version of Star Trek The Next Generation Patrick Stewart as Captain Picard. And on the right, you're going to see a Minimate representing the movie version of Captain Picard. Starting with the movie First Contact and going through Nemesis, he wore that uniform. And one thing you'll notice as you look at these Picard figures is the head sculpts are very identical, but they're all actually different. And props to Diamond Select and Art Asylum for actually creating a whole new face for the Professor X Days of Future Past Minimate, and not just reusing one of the head designs that we've received before. Let's also take a look at this Magneto Minimate up close. I think Art Asylum and Diamond Select did an equally great job with this Magneto that they did with the Professor X. I definitely see Ian McKellen in that face design. And honestly, before I had this Minimate, I never knew that Ian McKellen had blue eyes, but I'm certainly not going to forget now. I mean, look at the way they painted those things. They're almost paralyzing to look at, but that's some really nice paint detail on this figure. And let's go ahead and compare him here to the Michael Fassbender Magneto that I've already reviewed. And you'll see that with old Magneto, they definitely continued that armor design very nicely on this figure with the line work. It's all very clean, just like we got with the young Magneto figure. Plus, I gotta admit, it's really cool to see young Magneto and old Magneto standing next to each other. Apart from this chair accessory and the display stands that you've already seen with these Minimates, there are no additional accessories. So let's go ahead and move on to articulation. Professor X and Magneto have the same articulation, but since Magneto is heavily hindered by that cape, we're going to go ahead and look at Professor X to see how these figures move around. They do have ball-jointed heads that rotate all the way around and look down this far and back that far. Now Magneto's is a little bit hindered because he's got more around the shoulders. They have ball-jointed shoulders that rotate all the way around. They've got a ball joint that allows their arm to move out from the body, about that far. They do reconnect very easily. And then he has a single jointed elbow that bends down that far and back that far. There's also rotation at the wrist that spins all the way around, and he's got that same articulation here on the other side. The figures do rotate at the waist very nicely. They've also got a ball jointed hip that allows their leg to move forward that far and back very far, and they even bend back at the knee that far. And then they have full rotations here at the ankle. So a great range of motion for such a small little figure. Height-wise, we can see that these Minimate figures do come in right around 2¼ inches tall. For some size comparison, here we have movie Xavier and Magneto compared to their comic book Minimate counterparts. And here they are compared to the Minimates Captain Picard and Minimates Young Magneto. Here they are compared to the Mega Bloks Spider-Man minifigure. And compared to Creo Transformers Cheetor by Hasbro. And compared to the LEGO minifigure toy line. And compared to the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Wolverine Minimate. And finally, here they are compared to one of the original Minimate figure lines from 2002. We have Captain Kirk from Star Trek. Alright, toy fans, well that's my review of the X-Men Days of Future Past Old Magneto and Old Xavier Minimates 2-pack released by Art Asylum and Diamond Select in 2014. Overall, this is a really great set of Minimates to pick up for your collection. I think the painting, the line work, and the sculpting are all really nice on these figures, and I think the likeness to the actors is actually really good given the fact that these are Minimate figures of all things. Plus, these Minimates have the benefit of being one of the few official toy line tie-ins to X-Men Days of Future Past the movie. If you're a fan of that movie, you should be a fan of these figures and definitely check them out. Well, thanks for watching this review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you saw here, please feel free to rate, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Hey toy fans, are you looking for a new TV show where you can catch up on all your geek, comic book, television, and movie news? Well, give Project Geek Week a try. I just started it with some of my friends, and we're having a blast doing it and would love for you to check us out. Thanks for watching.